The new channel. The new channel. Hashtag TNC Now.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following shows are those of the host, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to TNC, the new channel. I am attorney Pol Sangalang and I'm streaming live from Quezon City. Our passion sees a community that transforms everything new. Again, good morning. It's Friday and welcome to Ask Attorney Pol on TNC.
Viewing and listening to our contents do not create any client-lawyer relationship. Whatever comments and recommendations that we give during our sessions are strictly for educational, information, and training purposes only. Please engage a trusted and reliable lawyer for legal advice and professional services. Thank you.
Good morning again. This is Attorney Pol. And you are on Ask Attorney Pol at TNC. And happy weekend, happy Friday. Friday is Ask Attorney Pol time. No? We do this every Friday at 10 a.m. for 1 hour, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And we do this twice live. No? Twice a month, we do this show live. And for other Fridays of the month, we upload the replay of previous session. Pero same time slot, no? 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And that's why you can always catch us every Friday. So every Friday is Ask Attorney Pol on TNC time. Now, welcome to another episode. This is season 1 and we have a lot of questions ready for you. Meron po tayong ginather. We've collected several questions from our survey. We've been sending out surveys, asking people what do they want to ask Attorney Pol, what do they want to ask. So we have this list of frequently asked questions. And thank you for participating. But before anything else, bago po tayo mag-umpisa, kailangan po muna tayong magdasal. We have to invoke the blessing and inspiration from our Heavenly Father. Meron po tayong opening prayer and I invite everyone to join me para po lahat tayo blessed, lahat tayo inspired, enlightened, at para po lahat ng ating gagawin, lahat po ng matututunan natin today will be for His greater glory. So Miss Sigrid, can you lead our opening prayer this session?
Okay po, let's bow our head and have the prayer of the Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit.
Holy
Amen.
Spirit, amen.
Loving Father, we humbly before you
For you
for the victories and challenges of this
This
fruitful
fruitful
day.
day.
We
We
thank you
thank you for all the blessings,
and kindness
mercy, and kindness you
bestowed on
bestowed on us and our families
we
as we
ask for
ask for your forgiveness,
our
our
sinfulness.
sinfulness, and shortcomings.
We ask
We
for your
ask for your guidance,
knowledge and
knowledge, and
understanding for
understanding for
legal skills.
today's legal coaching session as you
Continue to
continue to open our hearts and our
and all
minds and all our
faculties,
human
new
faculties
learnings
with
that
new
we will
learnings that you will
and
receive
encounter
and
today.
encounter today.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy
Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you, Lord. Thank you po. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for being in our midst, for strengthening us, enlightening us, and for inspiring us to use whatever knowledge, whatever understanding, whatever information we gain today, for inspiring us to use this only for the benefit of our fellow men. Marami pong salamat. And so now we open the floor, we open the session. But before we open the session for your questions. By the way, pwede po kayo mag-participate, no? Pwede kayo mag-participate. There are two ways to participate in our Ask Attorney Paul. One is by being a studio guest, no? We are inviting people who have sent us questions used through our survey using the Google form. We've been sending that out, no? And we've been asking them, yung mga nagsasubmit ng questions po sa atin, kung gusto nilang maging studio guest, no? And right now we have one studio guest, and he will be joining us in our discussion later. Another way to participate is through the comment section. As you know, we are streaming live today, and meron pong comment section sa ating mga live stream. We are streaming live using Facebook, using YouTube, and also LinkedIn. So tatlong platforms po tayo na nag-stream live, and all this, our director, our crew, our staff are monitoring the comment section, and you can post your questions there. Pwede po. And then babasahin po natin yan, babasahin ng aking co-host na si Miss Sigrid para po mabigyan naman ng linaw, no? So enlightenment yung mga katanungan nyo, no? But we have limited time. Until 11 a.m. lang po tayo dito. So, what are you waiting for? No? Share nyo na po itong link dito. Share nyo na po itong live stream natin sa mga friends, sa mga family, sa mga colleagues, co-workers nyo, clients, customers, anyone, no? Mga barkada nyo, kaibigan nyo. Share nyo na po ito. Baka kasi may tanong sila. And madali lang naman po yan. Use the comment section. I-post nyo po yung mga katanungan nyo, and we'll do our best within our limited time slot to address them, to answer them. And kung hindi naman po na mapalad na mabigyan natin because limited nga po yung ating time, then next Friday po or next Friday, or you can submit your questions sa ating survey form, sa ating Google Sheet, and then ipaprocess po natin yan. And who knows, baka po maging studio guest namin kayo in the future. Okay, and we also have online communities in Facebook and in Viber. And if you are interested in joining, yes, just say so and just contact our Miss Sigrid, and she will give you the link if you want to join our online communities as well. Okay, every session, meron po tayong prepared question. May inihahanda tayong question based on my experience, no? Yung ito po ang katanungan ng kalimitan ng mga clients ko. I have a lot of clients and a lot of friends as well who ask me questions, and nagsiselect po ako based on my recollection, based on my memory, and based on my notes. Ano ba ang mga kalimitang tinatanong ng mga tao? And from this list, from this recollection, from this memory that I have, no? Let's post our first question. Ito po yung isa sa mga patok na patok question na lagi pong halos tinatanong sa akin, no? Everywhere I go, no? One of the most frequently asked questions. So, Miss Sigrid, can you read this question?
So for the first question, we have Attorney Paul. My mental health condition affects my performance. Can my employer dismiss me because of it?
Thank you, Miss Sigrid. So ito nga po ang one of the most frequently asked question. Actually, itong question na to is two question in one, no? This is two question in one. Kasi 'di ba, ang tanong ni Juan de la Cruz, which can be anyone. You can be part of management, you can be a rank and file anyone. As long as you're an employee, you can ask this question. Actually, dalawang tinatanong niya dito. About the performance, pwede ba siyang ma-dismiss ng kanyang employer because of his or her performance? And yung performance niya is being affected, meaning poor na yung performance niya, being affected by the employee's mental health condition. So that's the first question. Another question, which is parang rider dito sa question na ito, is pwede bang ma-dismiss yung employee, no? Regardless of the performance, based on the mental health condition itself, no? No, based on the disease, it's actually a disease, no? It's a form of disease pero mental in nature nga lang, no? Can that be a ground for termination of employment, no? So that's two question in one. And Miss Sigrid, isama na natin yung ating studio guest, si Sir Gerald, kasi yung question niya is related dito sa ating question number 1, no? So what's our question number 2? And let's welcome Sir Gerald to our studio. Good morning, Sir Gerald. Ano po yung question natin? I-post natin yung question ni Sir Gerald, and Miss Sigrid, can you read it? Question number 2.
Question number 2, this is from Sir Gerald. How to handle employee who went AWOL due to mental health problem?
Okay. Ayan. So, Sir Gerald, welcome po. Kumusta po kayo?
Good morning, Tony.
Good morning. Yan. Eksakto naman, ang ganda ng timing ng question nyo at ito rin ang ating napiling prepared or teaser question for this session. So, can you elaborate further on your question? Ano po ba ang situation that you are bringing to us for enlightenment?
Okay. Actually, kasi si employee, he went AWOL effective May 2. Then, no notification, no advice. And then, after 10 days, bigla siya nagsabi na babalik siya sa work. Then, we issue NTE because for 10 days unauthorized leave of absence. And then, ang reason niya, depression. So, medyo natulala kami doon. Kasi how do we handle that kind of situation, attorney?
Okay, great question, Sir Gerald. Now, yan po ang tinatanong ng maraming business owner, maraming entrepreneur, maraming managers and supervisors in handling their people. Diba? Now, fortunately, we have a legal framework, no? Of course, that's a mental health issue, concern, no? And by the way, disclaimer, I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a psychologist. I am not competent about the mental diseases or mental illness or mental condition. I'm a lawyer, no? And I'm speaking from a legal point of view, no? So disclaimer po yan sa lahat, no? I do not claim to be an expert in this particular illness, disease, or condition. Okay, so ano po ang legal framework natin? Now, in 2020, in the year 2020, DOLE issued a department order. And this was in February of 2020, before the lockdown. Pero po nag-uumpisa na po dyan. Kasi di ba, November, December, alam na po natin that there's a pandemic that's brewing already. Pumutok na po yan. November, December of 2021, alam na natin to. It's already in the news, no? And then January, that's Mount Taal volcano. Taal volcano eruption. February, yan, nag-uumpisa na yung mga... And then, of course, we all know it's part of our history, the lockdown that was imposed by our government and the strict implementation of COVID-19 control. No, yung mga protocols and preventive measures, no? And on February 2020, a department order was issued for the guidance of everyone. Now, in case hindi nyo po alam itong department order na ito, you can Google this. It's uploaded in the DOLE, Department of Labor and Employment official website. It's Department Order 208, no? 208 series of 2020, no? So the title of this department order is Guidelines for the Implementation of Mental Health Workplace Policies and Programs for the Private Sector. So what you're waiting for, no? Go to the DOLE website, download this, and it's a valuable reference. And prior to this department order, meron na po tayong mga laws, no? Because this department order is an implementing rules and regulation for the several laws that have been issued in the past and several policy statements in the past. So we have the Republic Act 11036, which is the Mental Health Act. And this Mental Health Act has its own IRR, no? Meron din siyang sariling implementing rules and regulation, no? Again, that's RA 11036. Then we have Republic Act 7277, which is the Magna Carta for persons with disability. Now, mental health condition can be considered as a disability, no? Pwede po yung considered as a disability or even as a disease, no? Either way, no? That's why relevant rin po ang Magna Carta for persons with disability. We have Republic Act 10524. This is about expansion of the Magna Carta. And then we have occupational safety and health laws and rules and regulation. Anyway, you can read all about this in the implementing rules. Department Order number 208. Now, balik po tayo do sa question natin. Question number 1 and question number 2 ni Sir Gerald. Ano po ang kasagutan natin? Now, first and foremost, based on the policy, no, and the laws that we have in place, number 1 consideration is that bawal po, prohibited ang discrimination, no? Undue and unlawful discrimination against persons that are suffering from mental illness, no, from mental condition is prohibited po yan, no? Bawal po, no? So that's the number 1 policy of the state, of the government. Bawal ang unlawful or undue discrimination, no? So we should not discriminate. However, no, the policy also provides protection, no, for the employer and the co-workers as well as the general public. No, it's a balancing act. You have to balance the interests, the rights, the welfare of all the parties involved, no? Hindi lang the person who has the mental illness or the mental condition, but also the employer, no? Kailangan pong balanse. Kailangan babalansehin po natin, titimbangin natin, and we cannot uphold one person at the expense of another party, no? So, yung what is fair and reasonable? Because if the mental condition is affecting work, affecting business, affecting the employer, or even affecting co-workers or co-employees, or affecting clients and customer, of course, hindi naman po maganda na at the expense of their rights and of their welfare we forget everything at tutukan na lang natin yung person with a mental health illness or condition. So it's a balancing act, in other words, no? It's a balancing act, and that's the policy of the state. Now, punta tayo do sa question number 1 and question number 2. At yung question ni Sir Gerald, how to handle yung employee na nag-awol na, and ang kanyang reason yan. Sabi ni Sir Gerald, how to handle employee who went AWOL due to mental health problem, no? So, first of all, Sir Gerald, because of the legal framework, and of course, human rights din yan. Now, we have to approach this in a humanitarian way, no? Like we are approaching any employee who is sick, physical illness, yung nagka-COVID, di ba? Sakit yan. It's a physical illness. Yung nagka-high blood, nagka-diabetes, nagka-tuberculosis, nagka-AIDS. No? So, we should approach mental illness like how we approach other forms of disease or illness. No? That's a reasonable approach. No? Ibig sabihin, walang derogatory. No? We should not discriminate. There should be no derogatory. Wala tayo. Mental condition is not a joke, no? It's an illness. It's a condition, no? Much like kung ang isang tao nagka-influenza, nagka-flu, or nagka-COVID-19 illness, no? So we have to approach. If you have a sickness policy or an illness policy, that's what you have to apply, no? You have to consider that the employee is sick, and however you handle sick employee should be the same way you handle a person with a mental condition. So, of course, i-assess natin, no? I-determine natin kung totoo ba, no? Kasi alam naman natin may mga tinatawag tayong malinggiring, no? Yung they say, they claim, no? They allege that they are sick, but in reality hindi naman, no? Wala naman sakit. So, like any other sickness, we should handle it the same way. We should determine the veracity, the truthfulness, kung totoo ba yun. And of course, since hindi naman tayo expert, we send the employee to an expert, to a doctor, to a clinic, or to a hospital, no? And we get the certificate from the expert, no? From the physician or the psychologist, psychiatrist who is competent to diagnose the employee. So, ganun lang po yun, no? So, do sa mga company na may HMO, no? Health Maintenance Organization Program, you should think about adding it, no? Including it in the services that the HMO provides, no? Kasi uso po yan talaga. And then there is already a recognition that this is really a real problem, no? Especially nung nag-lockdown tayo, alam naman natin nung pandemic, ang daming naapektuhan. Actually, pati ako, no? Wala pong taong hindi affected dito nung nagkaroon tayo ng lockdown with all this fear of this COVID-19 disease. Now we are thinking how deadly it is, especially nung wala pa tayong vaccine. 'Di ba? Nagkaroon ako ng insomnia, nagkaroon ako ng mga hindi naman depression, no, but parang anxiety, no. Everyone, no, is affected, no. Hindi ako makatulog noon for whatever reason, no, because of the fear of the unknown, fear of the disease. Diba? So we were all affected. So, and it's a mental condition that everyone has gone through. Kaya nga, diba, we tried to help out each other. We tried to, diba, support each other. So in the same way, kahit po wala ng pandemic, kahit na nag-reopen ang economy, and even though on-site na ang mga karamihan ng mga work natin, no, it should not stop the way we support each other during the lockdowns. Dapat po tuloy-tuloy yan. And that is the main message of the Department Order 208 issued by DOLE. No? So may requirement dyan. It is a requirement. It is mandatory for all companies, for all establishment, for all employers to incorporate a mental health policy in all their company policies. No? Now, kung wala po kayong mental health policy, then you can use whatever policy you have for sickness. Kasi nga, it should be treated like any other illness or disease. No? So if you already have your sick leave policy or sick leave benefit, then a person who is undergoing such a mental health condition, and if he can submit a medical certificate saying that he needs rest, he needs a break, he needs to not to report for work, to recover, or to attend therapy, then we have to respect that. No, the same way that we respect the medical certificate kung ang isang employee ay nagkatrangkaso or nagka-COVID, di ba? Ganun lang po ang treatment natin. Di ba? So, Sir Gerald, do you have a follow-up question?
Attorney, what if the employee refuses to undergo mental health checkup?
Oh, so ayan. So the same way that we treat other employees who claim to be sick, no? Whether it's mental or physical illness, should apply, di ba? If the employee refuses to undergo, so what's your basis? It's just an allegation, no? What's your basis to say na totoo nga yung claim ng employee, di ba? If the employee refuses to cooperate, then it is an unreasonable um, position on the part of the employee. And what's your policy if the employee cannot submit a medical certificate, di ba? Sir Gerald, anong policy nyo pag walang medical certificate ang isang employee?
So, not fit to work, attorney.
Hindi. Fit to work is a medical certificate, no? Pag hindi siya nakapag-submit ng certificate, absent siya.
That is an authorized leave of absence.
O yun, unauthorized absences, di ba?
Yes.
Opo. So, ganun lang po yun, no? Bibigyan natin. Let's be compassionate. Let's be humanitarian about this. Every time an employee is sick, of course, we want the employee to get well, di ba? But we have policies. We have policies in place, di ba? So, dapat sasabihin nyo lang sa employee, let's help each other. So, when can you see a doctor? Di ba? Ganun naman yan eh. Minsan talaga, at the time they are sick, they cannot see a doctor. Unless meron kayong facility, no? Kasi yung ibang company, they have an agreement with an institution or a clinic or a hospital na pag may mga mental health issue, the employee can call. Yung telemedicine, di ba? So if you have that, then walang excuse yung employee, di ba? But if you don't have a telemedicine facility where the employee who is claiming to have a mental health condition can call and get a session, get checked up by an expert who is competent to address or diagnose the issues, no? Then probably you by referral, no, you can assist the employee by referring him to a paid or to a free. May mga free po, no? The government has free services for this. Nandun na rin po, nakasulat doon sa department order. And kung wala po doon sa listahan, you can call the Department of Labor and Employment for referral purposes. They have a hotline and they can give you some numbers to call for free referrals.
Thank you, attorney.
Okay, meron pa pong question regarding this?
Sa akin, attorney, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Sir Gerald. Now, balik tayo do sa first question natin, Miss Sigrid, no? Kasi merong related doon, no? So expand natin yung ating explanation do sa first question. Can we get back our first question? Yung slide, question number 1 slide. Ayan. Ladies and gentlemen, this question number 1 is actually 2 questions in 1, no? Ano po ito? Buy one, take one question. So, basahin natin, i-analyze natin. Sabi niya, Attorney Paul, my mental health condition affects my performance. In short, yung performance niya is becoming poor, no? Poor. Hindi na maganda yung kanyang performance, whether attendance, whether quality ng performance niya. In short, affected ng kanyang mental health condition. So ang tanong niya, can my employer dismiss me because of this? Now, because of this, question mark, ano yun? Can the employer dismiss the employee because of the performance, the poor performance? That's the first question. And can the employer dismiss the employee based on the mental health condition? That's a separate question. Kaya nga, 2 question in 1 po yan. Punta muna tayo sa first question. Performance. Can an employer dismiss an employee who is performing poorly? At ang excuse or justification of the employee for the poor performance is, Ma'am, sir, kasi po I have a mental condition. I have undergoing this therapy. I'm having symptoms like depression, anxiety, insomnia, and other symptoms, no? So that's why I cannot perform well. So yun yung kanyang excuse. 'Di ba? Usually may ano yan eh, may feedback, no? You give the feedback to the employee, o bakit you're not performing well, what's happening to you, how are you, 'di ba? So ito ang excuse ng employee. Pagdating naman ng evaluation, pagdating ng mga feedback, bagsak, no? Failed, needs improvement, no? Ang kanyang performance appraisal. So how do we handle that? Can an employee be dismissed? Can an employee be terminated because of that, given that the employee already informed the employer na meron siyang health condition? The answer is yes. No, yes. However, there are certain guidelines and there are certain parameters, no? Ang sinasabi ko lang, posible, no? Possibly. But we have to do it within the legal framework of Philippine labor law. No? Everyone knows that under our labor law, we have security of tenure. No? That's a right. That's a constitutional right enjoyed by all employees. Merong security of tenure. So ano po ang sinasabi dyan sa security of tenure? An employee cannot be dismissed. Hindi po tayo pwedeng mag-terminate ng employee unless there is just or authorized cause. What are just causes? Just causes are reasons attributable to the employee. No? Just causes includes serious misconduct, willful disobedience, fraud, willful breach of trust, crime committed against the employer, gross and habitual neglect of duty. So these are causes. Just causes are grounds that are serious in nature, no? Serious to the point that they are tantamount to committing a crime against the employer. And because of the seriousness, the gravity, the magnitude of the offense committed by the employee, the security of tenure will not protect the employee anymore. No? And the employee may be dismissed by the employer because of the seriousness, the gravity of the offense that he has committed. That is just cause. Now, on the other hand, what's the other valid ground? We have authorized causes. Now, authorized causes naman are reasons or grounds, justifications that are not attributable to the employee. Wala pong offense or violation or poor performance na ginagawa ang isang employee, but just the same, the employee can be terminated for valid reasons. And among these reasons are economic reasons, financial reasons, technological reasons, and even disease, no? Serious disease or illness as a reason. So these are situations na walang kasalanan, no? Walang wrongdoing, walang violation, walang offense, walang poor performance sa isang employee. However, because of economic or financial reason, the employer is facing possible closure, possible insolvency, bankruptcy, no? Losses, financial reverses that allows him, no, because it's reasonable naman for the business to survive, no, to lay off people. So people are being sacrificed for the sake of the continuity, the survival of the business. So that's called retrenchment, to prevent losses. Another reason is redundancy, wherein for purposes of efficiency and sustainability, better profit, better delivery and operation, no? The company abolishes certain positions, certain jobs, because they are excess, they are not needed, no? They are not needed for in the new organizational structure that the company has to become more efficient and sustainable and profitable, so feasible, no? So syempre lahat ng businesses wants to be feasible, sustainable, and profitable. And if the position is no longer necessary to attain the business objective, then it can be abolished. And unfortunately, employees who are occupying this abolished position may be laid off because they're no longer needed by the business. So these are some of the reasons, no? So kahit walang kasalanan si employee, if there is a valid authorized cause, they can be laid off. Now, balik po tayo dito. Performance. Is performance a just cause? Is performance Unauthorized cause. Now, if we go by the labor code, if we look at the list, no, performance is not listed. Hindi po siya listed. Wala po siya dyan sa listahan ng mga uh, just causes and authorized cause. Now, you may be surprised, no? But poor performance is not a just cause. Poor performance in itself is not a just cause for the valid termination of employment. However, pwede po siya, no, the closest that we can find in the labor code is gross and habitual neglect of duty. Now, if an employee has a duty and he is neglecting the duty habitually, ibig sabihin frequently, not just once, not just twice, not just thrice, but many times, and the effect of that habitual neglect of duty is serious already. It's gross, it's serious. No, the effect, the impact, the harm that it is causing on the employer, on the employees, co-employees, on the business, on the operation is already serious. Then it can be a valid reason for the dismissal of that employee. Okay, so ano ba ang duty? All employee, duty. May duty po lahat ng employee to show up, to attend, di ba, and to work. That's basic duty of all employees, no? To be punctual, to be present at work, to deliver, to render services. That's a duty. That's a basic duty of all employees. If you are being absent, if you are being late all the time, if you are being delayed, if you're not rendering your duty, that's a neglect of duty. And if you're doing that habitually, frequently, repeatedly, then that's an element. Pwede po magamit yan. And if the impact, if the consequences of this neglect of duty, this habitual neglect of duty is already serious, and it's really harming the employer already, then it is now a just cause. No, so yung sinabi kanina ni Sir Gerald, no, a whole several days hindi nagpakita, hindi nag-show up, no call, no show. Kung ilang araw yon, each day na absent si employee is one count. No? That's one count. So kung maraming araw yon, that can be counted as habituality. No? And if the impact of that no call, no show and absences, no, and non-delivery of services is serious, then it can fall under gross and habitual neglect of duty. Pwede po yan magamit against the employee. Now, what about the excuse of the employee? Yung kanyang mental illness. Now, that has to be proven. That has to be proven. In the example, sabi nung ni Sir Gerald, no, the employee refuses to cooperate, refuses to submit a medical certificate, refuses to see a doctor or a physician or as a therapist, psychologist, no? So, anong magagawa mo? No? Hindi naman pwedeng, sir, meron po akong mental condition. Hindi naman po pwedeng ganun. That would be unfair for the employer. No, kailangan if the employee claims na meron siyang mental condition, kailangan back up by proof. Meron siyang proof that he is seeing a doctor, he is taking medicine, he is undergoing therapy, he has resibo, he has certificates. 'Di ba? Kung wala, 'di ba? So baka nagdadahilan lang si employee, 'di ba? So pwedeng ma-dismiss si employee. Now another pwedeng gamitin, no? The Supreme Court in one case, in many cases actually, said that analogous just cause can also be, quote-unquote, gross inefficiency. Now, gross inefficiency is different from gross and habitual neglect of duty. Now, what is gross inefficiency? Gross inefficiency is similar to gross incompetence or gross ineptitude. Anong ibig sabihin nito, ng gross inefficiency, gross incompetence, or gross ineptitude? And how is this different from gross and habitual neglect of duty? Now, the difference is that the employee is showing up. The employee is going to work. The employee is perfect attendance. The employee is perfect punctuality. But in terms of the quality of the deliveries, no? Yung mga quality of services niya, ang daming error, ang daming back job, hindi nasasubmit on time. No, maraming mistakes, unacceptable quality of work. Sometimes we call this situation presentism. Kung meron tayong absenteeism, an employee who is nowhere to be found, meron tayong presenteeism, an employee who is physically present but is not delivering work in accordance with the reasonable standards of the business, reasonable standards of the employer. Bagsak siya sa performance appraisal. So ito po ang ibig sabihin ng gross inefficiency, gross incompetence, or gross ineptitude. Pumapasok pero wala doon yung utak, no? Hindi siya presentism, no? So wala doon, wala yung focus, wala yung attention, wala yung dedication, wala yung commitment. Now, sabi ng Supreme Court, in several cases, gross inefficiency, gross ineptitude, gross incompetence can also be a just cause, a valid ground for terminating an employee. Now, if you have an employee who is qualified based on your performance appraisal to be under the definition of gross inefficiency. Pag sinabi po natin gross inefficiency, yan po yung pinakamababang rating, ano? Talagang no improvement after giving the employee so many chances, so many opportunities, after training him, coaching him, mentoring him, and then allowing him to improve. Talagang wala pong pag-asa. Yan po ang definition ng gross inefficiency, no? You've given all the chances. You've enrolled him in a performance improvement plan or PIP, pero wala pa rin, no? You've coached him, you've trained him, you really walk the extra mile at wala pa rin talagang improvement. Yan po ang tinatawag nating gross inefficiency, gross incompetence, or gross ineptitude. At pag nandun na po tayo sa point na yon that we did everything to support the employee, of course, no one can blame the employer if the employer would let go the employee. And that's considered as a just cause according to the Supreme Court, no? Okay, so ngayon, what if sabi ng employee, meron po akong mental health eh. May mental health condition ako eh. So again, we have to give the employee due process. The employee has to prove that he really has such a condition. Without proof, it's merely allegation, no? Pag hindi na substantiate ng employee yung kanyang defense, of course, ano pa ang pwedeng gawin employer? The employer has the prerogative to dismiss the employee. Now, ano naman ang gagawin ng employer if the employee can produce evidence, can produce proof that he's taking medicine, he's seeing a doctor, a physician, na totoo talaga, may condition siya. Now, balik tayo dito sa Department Order number 208, no? May policy po diyan, no? There's a win-win solution, there's a win-win approach to this situation wherein balancing the interest of both the employer and the employee, there is a possibility of a win-win situation, no? Basahin po natin 'yon. Nandun po the key to addressing that kind of situation wherein the employee can really prove na meron siyang mental health condition is in the Department Order 208-20, no? And one of the possible solution is of course giving the employee a medical leave, no, for therapy purposes, or putting the employee or transferring him, reassigning him to another position. So there are many, no, many creative solution to the situation. So, yan po, no? Kasi magbibigay naman yun. And of course, another is you need to get a medical expert to be part of the solution. The medical expert will have to issue a fit to work, no? Kung walang fit to work, di ba, we cannot force the employee to work. So, we need to have a medical expert for that particular illness to check the employee and determine fit to work, and kung fit to work, what are the works? What are the jobs? What are the activities or services that the employee can do? No, and find a compromise. Now, if the employee has to become part-time because of this, then that's another solution, no? That's another solution. So in other words, both parties, both the employer and employee must work together to find a common ground, a common solution. Why? Because we have security of tenure. No, we have to respect what the law says, that the employee who is undergoing a condition like this has to be treated humanely and in consideration of his situation, condition, and also taking consideration his rights under the law, right to due process, right to security of tenure. However, also recognizing the right of the employer to have an efficient, well-oiled, streamlined organization that can deliver the expectations of its customers and clients. Importante rin po yon, no? So, kailangan pong makahanap tayo ng middle ground dyan. Okay. Now, about illness. What if the mental illness of the employee is really such to the extent na talagang impossible na, no? Wala na talaga, walang maihanap na solution, no? Walang middle ground. So under the labor code, we have Article 299 of the labor code, of the renumbered labor code, Article 299 of the renumbered labor code, that allows employer to terminate the employment of an employee who has a disease that is incurable for a period of 6 months, even though there is adequate medical treatment, no? Again, kailangan po na itong disease na ito cannot be cured, unable to be cured, even with adequate medical treatment, therapy, hindi po pwedeng mapagaling within a period of 6 months, no? And there must be a medical certificate certifying to this. And that the continued employment of that employee is prejudicial to the employee's health, no? Hindi siya fit to work. Hindi siya fit to work. Or is prejudicial to the fellow workers, no, to the co-employees. Now, if this condition is supported by a medical certificate from a public health authority, dapat po public health authority, meaning government, hindi pwedeng private. If there is a certification to that effect, that the disease is incurable for within a period of 6 months, even with adequate medical therapy or treatment, and it is prejudicial to his health, meaning not fit to work, and or not the other employees might be prejudiced if the employee is present in the workplace or rendering services, then that's a valid ground for terminating the employee. Pwede po yun, no? So there's a decision rendered by the Supreme Court. It's the decision in Dioferio versus Intel Technology, a 2014 case wherein the Mr. Dioferio is suffering from a mental illness, no? Meron siyang mental condition. He's seeing a therapist. He's seeing a psychiatrist and may medical certificate to that effect. And because of that, the Supreme Court declared that the termination of Mr. Dioferio, who has a mental illness, is a valid termination. No, there is no illegal dismissal. No, so try to read that case, Dioferio versus Intel Technology, a 2014 decision of the Supreme Court, wherein the Supreme Court allowed Intel Technology, the employer, to terminate the employment of Mr. Dioferio on account of his mental illness. Okay. Miss Sigrid, punta naman tayo sa next question. Or baka may mga questions tayo from the audience, from our participants. Check muna natin, Miss Sigrid. Let's
Yes, sir.
entertain.
Meron po. Ito po yung related na nakita ko. Sabi niya po is from Telay Bangkales. Attorney, question. If ang employee is napatunayan na may mental problem and yung workload niya is makaka-apekto and makakapagpalala sa mental problem niya and gusto na lang ni employee mag-resign, need pa ba niya mag-render ng 30 days notice rules?
Well, ganito po yan. So ang question is about the 30 days. Yung pong 30 days na notice requirement prior to the effectivity of the resignation of an employee, that is a right of the employer. Karapatan po yan ng employer that is there for the protection of the employer so that the employer will not suffer from the effects of an immediate resignation, di ba? Ang hirap po na bigla na lang aalis ang isang employee kasi 'di ba ang hirap, no? hindi lang po ang employer ang mahihirapan dyan, also the co-employees who will be left behind. Hindi lang po sila, hindi lang yung mga co-employees, also the clients and the customers. So ang dami pong maapektuhan yan, not only the business, but also the co-employees and the clients and the customers. So to prevent this disruption of the services, the business, and the operation of the employer, the labor code sees to it that there's a 30-day turnover period or a 30-day notice period. Now, this is a right granted to employers. No? And therefore, the employer can waive the right. The employer can say, I'm not going to require the 30-day notice and turnover period anymore. Pwede na yan. You can resign today. No? From the time that the resignation letter was submitted, depending on the circumstances, if the employer feels na kaya naman ng business, okay, no need for 30 days. You can go today. It's going to be effective today. Pwede po yan. The employer can waive the right. The employer can also shorten the period. Let's say 5 days, 1 week, no? Or 15 days na lang. That's within the management prerogative. Karapatan po ng employer yan, no? Na i-assess yung situation kung kailangan niya. Na kailangan pa niya yung 30 days. So, yan po, no? So, tingnan niyo po. So, if the employer feels kaya naman niyang kayanin, no? Despite the immediate resignation of the employee, then so be it. Allow the employee to take leave immediately. Okay. Next question, Ms. Sigrid.
Yung next po dito is, mandated po ba na merong mental health policy ang company from Sam?
Yes. Yes, Sam. Required po yan. Get a hold of Department Order 208. No? Meron pong mga provisions doon. Actually, yung Department Order 208, it's actually spoon feeding. Yun mismo, yung Department Order 208, you can just paraphrase it and you can use Department Order 208 as your company policy. Kung nahirapan po kayong mag-draft ng company policy, pwede you can just paraphrase the Department Order 208 and dagdagan nyo na lang and integrate it in your sickness policy, your sickness whatever policy you have regarding illness already. And that's it, no? Madali lang po. Pero required po, mandatory. It's because the law requires it. May question pa?
Meron
Related?
po, sir. Yes po. From Ms. Meyer, how does employee can waive the 30 days notice for resignation? How it communicated? If employee violates, it what consequence po?
So how can the employer waive the 30 days? First of all, pag naka-receive si employer ng resignation, standard talaga yung 30 days notice. Now, the employer will have to assess the situation. Case to case siya, no? Kasi ang employees naman, they are holding different job, di ba? Position or having job description. So, i-assess niya kung need ba niya yung mag 30 days pa si employee. And then, of course, magkaroon siya ng meeting. Kasi ganito, to prevent any problem, disputes, or issue in the future, ganito, you have to talk to the employee kasi may mga employee kasi gusto nila na kung pwede nga lang, may mga employees that they would really want immediate resignation. And they're just doing the 30 days notice out of compliance, no? Pero kung sila ang tatanungin mo kung pwede ba mag-immediate resignation, they really want to resign immediately and leave immediately for several reasons. They might have already a job that is waiting, o baka may karamdaman, may sakit, or whatever, no? There are so many reasons why an employee doesn't want to do the 30 days. So, you have to consider also the needs, no? The desire of the employee. Now, however, there are employees na importante sa kanila yung 30 days na yon. And they would really go to work during those 30 days. Why? Because naka-budget na po, no? For some employees, yung 30 days na yon is important to them because they are looking forward to the salaries and benefits that they will receive during that 30 days because for self-sustenance or for the support of their families and dependents. No? Kasama na yan. Nakaprograma na yan sa kanilang budget. And if you will tell them, ate, kuya, ngayon, pwede ka nang hindi mag-report. Ngayong araw na sinabit mo yung resignation letter, no, guguho ang mundo ni employee. Kasi nakaprograma na yon. Isipin niya, saan ko kukunin yung sweldo ko doon sa 30 days na yon. So, talk to the employee. Find out rin, ano bang gusto niya. So, hanap po kayo ng win-win formula regarding that. Now, so you have to respect each other's needs, no? Now, if need talaga ni employer na mag-render si employee ng 30 days at si employee need talaga niya na umalis na, no? Now, karapatan po yan ng employer to impose. Pwedeng sabihin ng employer, no? Sorry, I see that you really want to resign immediately. However, hindi pwede. And you have to report for 30 days because that's our contract, that's what's provided in our law, and that's what's needed by the business. So you can really tell the employee, mandatory yan, required yan. Now, if the employee refuses to comply, now what does the labor code says? The labor code says that the employee can be held liable for damages. No, pwede niya pong pagbayaran yung hindi niya pagsunod doon sa nire-require ng employer na mag-render ng 30-day notice and turnover period. No? It's a violation, it's an offense. Hindi lang po sa company policy yan, hindi lang po sa employment contract, it's a violation of the labor code. Bawal po yan sa labor code mismo. Yung gagawin ng employee na hindi niya i-honor yung 30 days notice and turnover period. Okay, so that's the general rule. No? There are some situation wherein the employee can immediately resign na cannot be taken against the employee. Of course, kung siya po ay minamaltrato, treated inhumanely, serious insult, and di ba, a crime has been committed against the employee like libel, defamation, no? If the employee is receiving inhumane treatment, hostile treatment, talagang embarrassment and humiliation, bakit pa siya magsaserve for 30 days? Diba? So, do sa mga ganong situation. But that's an exceptional situation po yon. No? Yung mga situation na yun. Pag do sa mga exceptional situation na ganon, na talagang may away na si employer at si employee, there's no need to render the 30 days anymore because it's not healthy. It's not healthy for both the employer and the employee to do the 30 days when their relationship is really in the rocks, no? Hindi na healthy po yan. Hindi na maganda for the business, hindi rin maganda for the clients and the customers. Okay. Meron tayong isa pang question, Miss Sigrid, na related. Related po ba? Yung question number 3? Time check, it's already 10:58. Sige, Miss Sigrid, yung question number 3 natin. I think ano rin yata yun?
Apo.
Mental health related.
Yung slides po, ma'am, ano po.
Question number 3, Direk.
So, ito po yung question number 3 from Miss Jill. I have mental health problem, depression and anxiety, few panic attacks. My manager invited me for a one-on-one meeting after we discussed about work-related. He asked me regarding a non-related topic with my work. It's my personal transaction. The way he is questioning me pressures me a lot. I begged him to stop, but still asking things. At that moment, I told him to stop because I am having a panic attack. I'm suffering now from depression and emotionally damaged trauma.
Okay, thank you, Hill. Andito ba si Hill? Or si Jill?
Sir.
Andito siya?
Wala po, sir.
Wala siya sa studio. Okay. Anyway, Jill or Hill, thank you for your question. We are sad that this happened to you, no? That you have undergone this situation. Now, as an advice for you, in handling this situation from your point of view as the employee, diba? Ang suggestion ko po sa inyo is to inform your employer about your mental health problem. Uh, Kasi 'di ba, we don't know. You might not have informed them beforehand that you have this condition. You have to inform because hindi naman po mind reader ang mga tao. If you are my employee and you have not informed me about your condition, I wouldn't know. And I might just be doing business as usual, giving my feedback, having a one-on-one meeting with my staff, with my employee. And little that I know or unknown to me, one of my employee pala is suffering already. So unless you inform your employer about your condition, it's not the fault of your superior, your boss. That because what he's doing is obviously just business as usual, no? What every manager or supervisor or team leader would do. Okay, so that's the first thing that you have to do. Inform them of your condition, submit your proof, your medical records. Kasi no, if you uh, keep this to yourself, if you hide this from your employer for whatever reason, because of fear of, let's say, ridicule or discrimination or termination or unfair treatment, whatever, no? Um, or stigma. Merong social stigma eh, di ba? If you, then how can people help you? How can your boss, how can your company help you? So that's why meron nga pong Department Order 208. It's not only for employers, it's also for employees who are having this mental condition because some of them are hiding it, tinatago po nila, no? For whatever reason, for fear of the unknown, fear of whatever repercussion, no? So, ito po ang maganda nito kasi there is a law protecting you. There's a Magna Carta, and if you can qualify as a person with disability, then you are entitled to be protected by the Magna Carta on persons with disability, no? May criteria 'yon. The expert would be the one to determine that. And the employer is required to have policies on disability and on mental health. Required po yun na may policy sa mga employer. And so, with such a protection on your condition, do not, wag po kayong matakot, no? It's better that you disclose. Now, if you already disclosed and your employer knows and you're not being treated properly or fairly in accordance with the law and the rules and regulation, well, that's another matter. Diba? That's another matter. You can, that's a ground for discrimination, unlawful discrimination. That's a ground for constructive dismissal. So, situation, case to case po yan, no? But first things first, since you are not here in the studio and I don't know the real score, the real situation, first things first, inform your employer about your situation. Okay. So thank you, Hill. And it's already 11:04. 1 hour lang po tayo dito. So tapos na po ang programa natin. Pero pwede bang pahirit pa na ano, gusto ko, kung tutuusin, gusto ko lahat ng question ma-address natin. However, ganito po, no? I invite you to be part of our online communities. Yung question nyo po, you can send it through Miss Sigrid, through dito sa chat window. Miss Sigrid will send you a message, private PM, private message or direct message on how your questions can be entertained, no? There's a way, no? Don't lose hope na wala na po tayong oras. May paraan po para masagot natin yung mga questions nyo. So, okay, so nagpapaalam na po tayo. But before that, I'd like to thank one of our sponsors, no? Kung nagtataka yung iba, bakit daw ako may energy, Attorney Paul? Bakit you're so full of energy? Hindi ka napapagod sa mga ginagawa mo? Well, I've been taking Barley Max for about a month now, no? Sponsored to our show. Barley Max, it's barley grass, organic barley grass, and I'm taking it every day. And they provide me with fiber and other nutrients, so that keeps me going. And also, they are the maker of a vitamin C, which is eye zinc. And I'm taking eye zinc every day. But because of that, I think that's one of the reasons kung bakit hindi po ako nagkakasakit nowadays. So I've been taking these supplements, these vitamins for over a month now, and hindi pa po ako nagkakasakit. So that says something good about this product. And thank you for the maker of Barley Max and eye zinc, Sante International. Marami pong salamat sa inyo for sponsoring this show. And of course, maraming salamat sa ating mga viewers, sa mga nagpadala ng questions natin kay Miss Sigrid and to TNC, the new channel. Thank you. See you. See you next session. Bye.
Viewing and listening to our contents do not create any client-lawyer relationship. Whatever comments and recommendations that we give during our sessions are strictly for educational, information, and training purposes only. please engage a trusted and reliable lawyer for legal advice and professional services. Thank you.